He didn't hesitate. No warning. No second chance. Get out. You're fired. The vase shattered, and so did her world. But just as she turned to leave, he saw something. Something so small, yet so impossible. And suddenly, the most powerful man in the room couldn't speak. In a world where power decides truth, one mistake can cost everything. She was just a maid. Invisible. Replaceable. Or at least, that's what he thought. Because what he was about to discover would change everything he believed about her and about himself. Welcome back to Prime Tale. If you love intense billionaire drama stories filled with secrets, twists, and emotional moments, you're in the right place. Make sure you subscribe and stay till the end. Because this story, it only gets deeper. The sound echoed through the entire office. Sharp, sudden, final. A porcelain vase, now nothing but broken pieces scattered across the marble floor. Sarah froze. Her hands trembled as she stared at what she had just done. No, 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 she whispered under her breath, panic rising in her chest. That vase wasn't just expensive. It was priceless. A family heirloom. And everyone in the building knew it. Heavy footsteps approached. Slow. Controlled. Dangerous. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Leo Sterling. CEO. Billionaire. A man whose name alone made people nervous. He stopped just a few steps behind her. Silence filled the room. The kind of silence that makes your heart pound louder than any noise. Explain. His voice was calm. Too calm. Sarah swallowed hard, her voice barely holding together. I was cleaning, sir. It slipped. Slipped. The word cut through the air like a blade. Leo stepped forward, his polished shoes crunching lightly against the shattered porcelain. Do you have any idea what that was? She lowered her head. I'm sorry. I didn't ask for an apology. His tone hardened instantly. I asked if you understood what you just destroyed. Tears filled her eyes, but she forced herself to speak. Yes, sir. Another pause. Then, you're fired. Just like that. No discussion. No warning. No mercy. Sarah felt the words hit harder than anything else. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. Around them, a few staff members had gathered. Watching. Whispering. Judging. One of them covered her mouth in shock. But no one stepped forward. No one ever did when it came to Leo Sterling. Sarah slowly bent down, trying to gather her things with shaky hands. Her vision blurred with tears. This job, it was everything she had. Rent. Food. Survival. Gone. All because of one mistake. She stood up, clutching her small bag tightly. I'll leave now, she said softly. Leo didn't respond. He had already turned away. Or at least, he was about to, because something caught his attention. A small movement. Her sleeve had shifted slightly as she reached for her bag. And there it was, on her wrist. A mark. Tiny. Almost unnoticeable. But to him, it was impossible to ignore. His body froze. His eyes locked onto it. No, that couldn't be right. He stepped closer again. Wait. Sarah stopped instantly. Her heart raced. Did he change his mind? Was he going to give her another chance? Slowly, she turned back. Leo was staring at her differently now. Not with anger. Not with authority. But with something else. Something she couldn't understand. Your wrist, he said quietly. She blinked in confusion. My wrist. Show me. The room went completely silent. Everyone was watching now. Sarah hesitated for a moment, then slowly raised her hand. Leo stepped closer. Closer than he had ever stood to her before. His eyes narrowed. His breathing changed. That mark. It wasn't just familiar. It was identical to one he had seen before. Years ago. In a memory he had buried. Forgotten. Or at least, try to forget. Where did you get this? His voice wasn't steady anymore. Sarah looked confused. I've always had it. Always. The word echoed in his mind. That was impossible. Because if what he was thinking was true, then this wasn't just a coincidence. This wasn't just a maid. And this mistake was about to become the biggest one he had ever made. The room didn't move. No one spoke. All eyes were on Leo Sterling and the trembling hand he hadn't realized he was still holding. Sarah slowly tried to pull her wrist back. Sir. He didn't let go. Not yet. His eyes were locked on that mark like it was the only thing in the world that mattered. That tiny, imperfect shape. He had seen it before. Not once. Not twice. But enough times to never forget it. His jaw tightened. This isn't possible, he muttered under his breath. Sarah's confusion grew. I don't understand. What are you looking at? Leo finally released her wrist, but instead of stepping away, he took a step closer. Too close. Close enough for her to notice something was wrong. The anger was gone. Completely gone. Replaced by something far more unsettling. Uncertainty. Who are you? He asked quietly. The question hit her harder than being fired. Sarah, she replied, almost instinctively. That's not what I asked. His voice was sharper now. Focused. Where are you from? She hesitated. Why was he asking this? Just outside the city, she said. Which city? His questions were coming too fast now. Too direct. Too intense. I don't see why that matters. It matters because I'm asking. The room tensed again. That tone. That was the Leo everyone knew. Cold. Controlling. Dangerous. But beneath it, something was off. He wasn't angry anymore. He was searching. And that made everyone more uncomfortable than his anger ever did. Sarah took a small step back. I don't think I need to answer that anymore. I've already been fired. A bold move. A dangerous one. The employees watching held their breath. No one spoke to Leo like that. Ever. For a split second, it looked like his temper might snap again. But it didn't. Instead, he did something no one expected. Get everyone out. The command was quiet, but absolute. Within seconds, the room emptied. No questions. No hesitation. The door closed. Now it was just the two of them. Silence stretched between them again. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Sarah clutched her bag tighter. If this is about the vase, I said I'm sorry. I'll find a way to pay for it. It's not about the vase anymore. That stopped her. Completely. Because now, she didn't know what this was about. Leo ran a hand through his hair, pacing once, twice, like he was trying to organize something that refused to make sense. That mark, he said finally, turning back to her. He said you've always had it. Yes. No surgeries, no burns, nothing that could have caused it. No, it's just always been there. His chest rose slowly, then fell. This wasn't adding up. It couldn't, because the only other person who had that exact mark was supposed to be gone. Gone for good. Years ago. Who are your parents? The question came out faster than he intended. Too fast. Too personal. Sarah's expression changed instantly. From confusion to guarded. That's none of your business. There it was. A wall. Leo noticed it immediately. And it only made things worse. Because now he was sure of one thing. She was hiding something. Or she didn't know something. And both possibilities were dangerous. Answer the question. His tone returned. Sharp. Commanding. But this time, it didn't work the same way. Sarah shook her head. I already lost my job. You don't get to question my life, too. Another silence. But this one felt different. Like something had shifted. Leo stared at her. Really stared. Not at the uniform. Not at the situation. But at her. Every detail. Every expression. Every reaction. Trying to find something, anything, that confirmed what was building in his mind. But the more he looked, the more uncertain he became. Because she didn't act like someone who knew anything. She acted like someone completely unaware. And that made it worse. Much worse. Finally, he exhaled slowly. This conversation isn't over. Sarah frowned. It is for me. She turned, started walking toward the door. This time, he didn't stop her. He just watched, as she reached for the handle, opened it, and walked out of his office like nothing had changed. But everything had. The door closed, and for the first time in years, Leo Sterling felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Doubt. He turned back toward the shattered vase on the floor. His reflection stared back at him from the broken pieces. Distorted. Uncertain. That's not possible, he whispered again. But deep down, he already knew one thing. If he was right, then firing her wasn't just a mistake. It was the beginning of something he wasn't ready to face. The hallway outside Leo's office felt colder than usual. Sarah walked quickly, her grip tight around her bag, her heartbeat refusing to slow down. Something wasn't right. The way he looked at her, that wasn't anger. That wasn't authority. That was recognition. But from where? She had never met him before. At least, that's what she believed. Sarah. A voice called from behind. She turned. It was one of the junior staff, breathless from trying to catch up. You need to leave before he changes his mind, she whispered urgently. Sarah gave a weak nod. I know, but even as she said it, her mind wasn't on leaving. It was on him. On that question, who are you? It didn't feel like something you ask a stranger. It felt like something you ask someone you were supposed to know. Back inside the office, Leo hadn't moved, not from where she left him. The city lights reflected faintly through the glass behind him, but he didn't notice. His mind was somewhere else. Years back, a different place, a different life. He walked slowly to his desk and opened a drawer, paused, then reached deeper inside. From the back, he pulled out something he hadn't touched in a long time. A photograph, old, slightly worn at the edges. He stared at it. His expression hardened, then shifted. Uncertain again, because staring back at him from that picture was a small hand, a child's hand, and on the wrist, that same mark, exactly the same shape, same position. Impossible. No, he muttered, shaking his head slightly. That couldn't be her. It didn't make sense. The timeline didn't match. The story didn't match. Nothing matched. And yet, he couldn't ignore what he saw. He grabbed his phone immediately. "Give me everything on that girl," he said the moment the call connected. "No greeting. No explanation. I want her records, her application, background, everything. Now." He ended the call before the other person could respond. His grip tightened around the phone. If this was a coincidence, he would prove it. And if it wasn't, then someone had been hiding something for a very long time. Outside the building, the night air hit Sarah as she stepped onto the street. Cool, heavy, real. Unlike everything that had just happened. She exhaled slowly, trying to calm herself. "It's over," she whispered, but didn't feel over. Not even close. She started walking, one step after another. No destination, just movement, because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant going back to that moment, to his eyes, to his voice, to that strange shift in everything. Her phone buzzed suddenly in her hand. She flinched slightly before looking down. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello." Silence. For a second, too. Then, "Is this Sarah?" The voice was unfamiliar. Calm. Controlled. "Yes, who is this?" Another pause. Then the voice spoke again. "You need to be careful." Her grip tightened instantly. "What?" "Whatever you do." The voice lowered slightly. "Don't go back there." A chill ran down her spine. "Who is this? How do you—" The call ended. Just like that. Sarah stood frozen on the sidewalk, her heart pounding harder than before. What was that? A warning? A threat? Or something worse? Slowly, she looked back at the towering building behind her. Leo's office was somewhere up there, watching over everything, controlling everything, and somehow, now connected to her in a way she didn't understand. She turned away quickly. "No," she whispered. Whatever this was, she wanted no part of it. Back in the office, Leo's phone buzzed. He answered immediately. "Well, we found something," the voice on the other end said. Leo's expression darkened. "What is it?" A pause. Then, "There are gaps in her records." His eyes narrowed. "What kind of gaps?" "Years missing. No clear history before a certain point. It's like she didn't exist." Silence filled the room again. But this time, it wasn't confusion. It was confirmation. Slow, dangerous confirmation. Leo walked back to the window, staring out at the city below. Lights, movement, control, everything he understood, everything that made sense. Unlike this, unlike her. "Dig deeper," he said quietly. "There's more to this." He ended the call and looked down at the photograph still in his hand. That same mark stared back at him. A past he thought was buried, a connection he thought was gone. But now, it was walking around in his present, breathing, existing, unaware. And if she truly didn't know, then someone had made sure of that. Which meant, this wasn't an accident. This wasn't coincidence. This was planned. And the question now wasn't just who she is, but who made her forget. The night felt different now. Not quiet, not peaceful, but watched. Sarah pulled her jacket closer as she walked down the dimly lit street. Her steps were faster now. Unsteady. That call. It kept replaying in her head. Don't go back there. Why? What did they know? And more importantly, why did it sound like a warning, not a threat? She stopped briefly at a corner, glancing around. Nothing unusual. Just passing cars. Distant voices. Normal. But something in her chest refused to settle. That feeling, like someone was just behind her. Watching. Waiting. She shook her head quickly. "You're overthinking," she whispered to herself. But as she turned to keep walking, a black car slowly rolled past her. Too slow. Way too slow. Her eyes followed it instinctively. The windows were tinted, completely dark. She couldn't see inside, but she felt it. That same unease. The car didn't stop. It kept moving, then turned the corner ahead. Gone. Sarah stood still for a moment, her heart racing again. That wasn't normal. That wasn't nothing. And suddenly, that warning didn't feel random anymore. Across the street, hidden behind the faint shadow of a parked vehicle, someone watched her. Silent. Still. A phone raised slightly. A picture taken. Click. The screen glowed briefly, then dimmed again. A message was typed quickly. She's alone. Sent. Back at the penthouse office. Leo hadn't left. Hours had passed, but he was still there. The city had grown darker, quieter, but his mind was louder than ever. His phone buzzed again. Another update. He answered immediately. What did you find? There's something you need to see, the voice said. A file was sent. Leo opened it. His eyes scanned the contents quickly, then slowed, then stopped. His expression changed. Not shock, not confusion, something heavier. Where did you get this? It wasn't easy, the voice replied carefully. These records were buried. Intentionally. Leo's grip tightened around the phone. On the screen, a name appeared. A name he hadn't heard in years. A name tied to a past he had locked away completely. This doesn't make sense, he said quietly. But deep down, it was starting to make too much sense. Back on the street, Sarah finally reached her apartment building. Old, worn, barely standing compared to the world she had just come from. She stepped inside quickly, locking the door behind her. For a moment, she just stood there, listening. Nothing. No footsteps. No movement. Just silence. She exhaled slowly. Okay, you're safe. But the words didn't feel true. Not anymore. She moved toward the small table near the window and dropped her bag. Her hands were still shaking. Her mind still racing. Everything had changed in just a few hours. Her job, her stability, her sense of normal, gone, and replaced with questions she couldn't answer. Why was he looking at her like that? Why did that mark matter so much? And who called her, warning her to stay away? She leaned against the wall, closing her eyes briefly, trying to shut it all out, trying to breathe. But then, a sound, soft, barely noticeable, from outside the window. Her eyes snapped open. Slowly, carefully, she turned her head. The curtain moved slightly, just a little, like something or someone had just been there. Her heart stopped. She stepped closer, every movement cautious now. Her hand reached for the curtain, paused, then pulled it open. Nothing, just the empty street below. Dark, quiet, still, but her reflection in the glass looked different, fearful, uncertain, like someone who was no longer alone in her own story. Elsewhere, inside the same black car from earlier, a phone buzzed. The message appeared. She's inside. A second message followed almost instantly. Do not lose her. A pause. Then a reply was typed. Understood. The engine started again. Low, quiet, patient, back in the office. Leo stared at the file again, at that name, at the truth slowly forming in front of him. If this was real, if this connection was real, then Sarah wasn't just someone with a mysterious past. She was part of something much bigger, something dangerous, something that had already started moving again. And if others knew about her, then he wasn't the only one looking. His jaw tightened. This just became a problem, he muttered. Not because of who she was, but because of what she might be connected to. And for the first time since this began, Leo Sterling made a decision that went against everything he normally believed in. He picked up his phone again, dialed. When the line connected, his voice was cold, focused. Find her. A pause. Then, and this time, don't let anyone else get there first. The rain started without warning. Hard, fast, relentless. Sarah stood by her window, watching it wash over the empty street below. But something felt wrong. Too quiet, too still. Even with the rain falling, the world felt like it was holding its breath. She stepped back slowly, pulling the curtains halfway closed. Her mind kept replaying everything. The warning call, the black car, the feeling of being watched. And now this silence. She grabbed her phone. No missed calls, no messages, nothing. That somehow made it worse. I'm just being paranoid, she whispered. But even she didn't believe it. Across the city, Leo Sterling stood by a wall of screens, each one showing movement, street feeds, traffic cams, private surveillance access. His people were moving fast. Too fast for something that was supposed to be just a maid. She's still inside the apartment, one voice reported. 2 units confirmed watching the building. Leo's eyes narrowed. Who are the other units? A pause. Unknown. That answer changed everything, because unknown meant only one thing. They weren't government. They weren't security. They were hiding, just like whoever buried her past. Leo stepped forward slowly. Keep eyes on her, he said. No one approaches her without my approval. Then he paused. No one. Even as he said it, he realized something. This wasn't just protection anymore. It was a race. Back at Sarah's apartment. A soft knock. She froze instantly. Her breath stopped. The rain outside suddenly felt louder. Knock again. Stronger this time. Who is it? She called out, trying to sound steady. Silence. Then, a voice. Male. Calm. Maintenance. She frowned. That didn't make sense. It was late, and she hadn't requested anything. I didn't call for maintenance. No reply. Just another knock. Harder. More insistent. Her instincts screamed at her now. Step away. Don't open it. She backed away slowly from the door, then looked toward the window again. Something outside moved. A shadow. Gone in an instant. Her heart dropped. No, she whispered. This wasn't paranoia anymore. This was real. Elsewhere, a man stood in a dim hallway, phone pressed to his ear. She didn't open the door, he said. A voice responded instantly. Then wait. No contact. Observe only. The man looked toward Sarah's apartment door again, then replied quietly. Understood. Back in Leo's office, another update arrived. This time faster. Urgent. 2 unidentified observers confirmed near her building. Leo's expression hardened. So it was already happening. They weren't waiting anymore. They were moving. He grabbed his coat. Prepare the car. A pause. Sir. I'm going there. The room went silent for a second. No security escort? Leo didn't even look up. I don't need one. Because for the first time, this wasn't about control. It wasn't about power. It was something else. Something he hadn't felt in years. Urgency. Personal urgency. Back at the apartment, Sarah's phone suddenly lit up. Unknown number again. Her hand shook as she answered. Hello. A pause. Then the same calm voice from before. You need to leave. Her breath caught. Who are you? No answer. Just silence. Then, 1 minute. The call ended. Sarah stared at the phone in disbelief. What does that mean? Before she could process it, a loud bang echoed from the building hallway. Not her door. Down the corridor. Followed by footsteps. Fast. Approaching. Her entire body froze. They weren't knocking anymore. They were entering. Outside, a black car pulled up slowly across the street. Headlights off. Engine low. Leo stepped out. His eyes immediately locked onto the building. Something was wrong. He could feel it before he even saw it. Movement inside. Too much movement. Too fast. He didn't wait. He started walking. Inside the apartment building, Sarah backed away from her door again. Her breathing was unsteady now. The footsteps were closer. Too close. Then, the hallway light flickered. Once. Twice. And stopped. Darkness settled in. Her phone dropped slightly in her hand. And in that moment, a voice outside her door said softly, "Open it." At the exact same time, Leo reached the building entrance. The door was slightly open. That's when he knew. He was already too late. And whatever was happening inside had already started. The hallway outside Sarah's apartment was completely dark now. The flickering light had died completely. Only the sound of rain hitting the windows remained. And the footsteps. Closer. Slower now. Deliberate. Sarah stood frozen, her back pressed against the wall beside her door. Her phone was still in her hand, but she wasn't holding it anymore. It was just there, useless. The voice from earlier echoed in her mind again. "Open it." Her breathing shook. Who is there?" she called out again. Silence answered her. Then, a soft knock. Not aggressive this time. Almost calm. That made it worse. Because calm meant confidence. Whoever was outside knew something she didn't. Downstairs, Leo entered the building without hesitation. No guards. No backup. Just him. The security desk was empty. Suspiciously empty. He stopped for half a second, scanning the environment. Too quiet. Too controlled. This isn't random, he muttered. Someone had already cleared the way. Or removed obstacles. For him? Or against him? He didn't know yet. But he moved anyway. Fast. Focused. Up the stairs. Back at the apartment door. Sarah took one step forward. Then stopped. Another knock. Closer. Like the person had leaned in. Sarah, the voice said again. Her name. Hearing it made her stomach twist. How do you know my name? She asked sharply. A pause. Then, we don't have much time. Her breath caught. What does that mean? No answer. Just silence again. And then, a sound behind her. From inside the hallway. Not the door. Behind her. Her entire body went cold. Slowly she turned. Nothing. But the air felt different now. Heavier. Closer. Something was in the hallway with her. Outside the building. Leo reached the third floor. Stopped. His eyes narrowed instantly. He saw it. A small device placed near the stairwell camera. Disabled. Professionally. No amateur does this, he muttered. This was coordinated. He moved faster now. Back at the apartment. Sarah backed toward her living room. The door remained untouched. But now she knew. It didn't matter. Because something was already inside with her. Her phone suddenly buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Please, she whispered. The voice came immediately. Calm. Controlled. Do not open the door. Her eyes widened. It's already too late for that advice, she snapped. A pause. Then, listen carefully. Her breathing slowed slightly. Something about the tone forced her to listen. There are 2 groups outside your door. Her heart dropped. 2. One wants answers. Another wants you gone. Her grip tightened instantly. What are you talking about? The voice continued. You are not safe either way. Outside. Footsteps stopped directly outside her door. No more guessing now. Someone was there. Right there. Sarah stepped back instinctively. Her hand reached for anything she could use as protection. A lamp. A chair. Anything. The door handle slowly turned. Just slightly. Testing. Not breaking in yet. Watching her reaction. Then stopped. Silence again. And in that silence, a second set of footsteps appeared outside the building corridor. Faster. Stronger. Coming up the stairs. Leo reached the 4th floor. And stopped immediately. Because he heard it. Movement. At her door. He didn't think. He ran. Inside the apartment. Sarah whispered to herself, trembling. Please, please don't open. The handle turned again. This time more firmly. A click. The lock tested. Someone was about to enter. And then, a loud bang echoed from the hallway. Not her door. Something else. A fight had started outside. Her eyes widened. What? Another crash. Then shouting. Unknown voices. 2 sides. Clashing. The situation had just changed. Violence had entered the building. Outside the door. A deep voice barked. Move. Another responded instantly. She's not yours. Footsteps. Struggle. Impact. Something hit the wall hard. Sarah stepped back in shock. What is happening out there? She whispered. Then, silence again. For half a second. Then the door slammed open. But not into her apartment. Into the hallway. Leo stood there. Breathing slightly heavier than usual. Eyes sharp. Controlled. And locked directly onto her. Sarah froze. He had arrived. But so had someone else. Because behind him, a shadow moved quickly in the darkness. Leo noticed instantly. His voice dropped low. Get behind me. Sarah didn't move. She couldn't. Because for the first time, she realized something terrifying. Leo wasn't here to question her anymore. He was here to protect her. From something he already recognized. And that meant, whatever was coming next, was already known to him. Just not fully revealed. Yet, the hallway was chaos for a moment, then silence again. Like someone had pressed pause on reality. Leo stood between Sarah and the darkness behind him, his body slightly angled, blocking her without looking away from the threat. His voice was low, controlled. Stay behind me. Sarah didn't respond. Her mind couldn't process what was happening. A second ago, strangers were at her door. Now, Leo Sterling was standing in front of her like a shield. And that alone was more terrifying than anything else. Because men like him didn't protect people for free. The shadow at the end of the hallway shifted. Slow, deliberate, then stopped. A voice came from it. Familiar, but distorted. You're interfering again. Leo's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes tightened. Like recognition. Not surprise. Recognition. I told you not to come near her, Leo replied calmly. Sarah's heart skipped. Again, she whispered under her breath. The shadow laughed softly. It was never your decision. A step forward. Now faint light revealed a silhouette. A man. Not dressed like security. Not like police. Something else entirely. Controlled presence. Trained posture. Danger without effort. He tilted his head slightly toward Sarah. So it's true. Sarah frowned. What are you talking about? But the man wasn't speaking to her. He was speaking about her. Leo's jaw tightened slightly. This ends here. The man smiled faintly. No, this starts here. And then, he said it. A name. Not Sarah's. Not Leo's. A third name. One that made the air feel heavier instantly. Sarah didn't recognize it. But Leo did. Completely. And for the first time since this began, his control slipped. Just slightly. But enough to notice. Sarah looked between them. What is going on? She shouted. Neither answered her immediately, because now the conversation had moved beyond her. The man spoke again. She doesn't know, does she? Leo didn't reply. Silence confirmed it. The man exhaled slowly. That makes it worse. Leo finally spoke, voice lower than before. You're not supposed to be here. The man stepped closer. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. A pause. Then, she is the trigger. Sarah froze. What? Leo's eyes flicked briefly toward her. Just once. Then back to the man. Don't say that. But it was too late. The word had already landed. Sarah took a step forward despite herself. Someone explain what's going on right now. Her voice cracked slightly. The man finally looked directly at her. Not with anger. Not with curiosity. But with certainty. You were never supposed to survive that separation. Silence hit harder this time. Leo moved immediately. Fast. Not attacking, blocking her from hearing more. Enough. But the man didn't stop. Ask him about the mark. That stopped everything. Even Leo. Sarah turned slowly toward Leo. Her voice quieter now. What mark? Leo didn't answer. That silence was louder than anything else. The man smiled faintly. There it is. You still haven't told her. Sarah's breathing quickened. Told me what? Leo finally spoke, but not to her. To the man. This isn't your place. The man nodded slightly. No, but it's my timeline. A pause. Then, he already knows what she is. Sarah stepped back instantly. What does that mean? Leo raised a hand slightly, not to silence her, but to steady the situation, because something had changed. The balance, the control, everything. The man slowly reached into his coat. Leo reacted instantly, half-stepped forward, but the man didn't pull a weapon. Instead, he pulled out a file. Old. Physical. Not digital. He held it up. This is where it started. Leo's eyes narrowed. Put that away. The man ignored him. I'm not here to take her. A pause. I'm here to remind you what she is. Sarah looked between them, shaking slightly. I'm standing right here. The man finally looked at her again, this time softer, almost pitying.